Hallihallo. Servus.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Grüß euch. So let's wait a few more minutes until everyone has time to join. And hopefully also Meg, since she had something in the agenda and I don't see her in the list. Also because we don't have any ready for refinement issues. But this, I already provide a fix for this. Documentation. So I don't see Meg in the list.
I just pinged her.
Meanwhile, we can do a bit of triaging. Okay. So, do we have any tickets in the list that we want to discuss? Otherwise, we can start a bit discussing the next milestone, 0.8. What should that include? So, now that we have done the release, I think we can close this flow, right?
That's split epic. Yeah.
And this one more, I think we can also close it since now everything works fine with Helm. Ish.
Ish.
Can we close it or is more to be done?
It should be fine.
Then the update Argo, we can move it to 0.8. It's not really blocking this thing here. Then we have something here. This has already been moved. This one, Thomas, consolidation of the examples and the getting starting guide.
I think this is more or less done now, right?
Yes, I'm also thinking that. I saw a ticket from Adam to use Helm. Oops, this, yeah, nice. My typo skills are very good. This one done. And this we are still missing a bit of the KDA integration.
What's missing there?
The documentation for the KDA integration.
Okay.
We can move it to 0.8. Do we have Shubham or Shardul here? No, I don't see them. I will ping them directly after this meeting. And this therefore will jump into 0.8. Okie dokie. So for 0.8, we have quite of things here already. Some of these have been tackled, but the biggest feature should be automatic application discovery. This what we should aim as a goal for the next release, because currently Keptn requires a Keptn app to be next to your deployment in order to work properly. But it's not always necessary, because if you're following the good Kubernetes standards and having those recommended labels or annotations, then we can derive out of the box this Keptn app for you. So if you want to use just the observability aspect of your deployment, you don't need to do anything, and we can provide things for you out of the box. So this is the goal for the following tickets here. And then we have some smaller enhancement, such as improving our naming schema, because we have app version and workload instance. Therefore, we should switch to workload version as well here. So we are aligned there. Then improve a bit the tasks execution, because now we allow a job to fail over and over and over, instead of having a max amount of time that this can be failed for. Then improve a bit the metrics, because we saw with the recent Datadog implementation that some providers require a specific from and to in their API, so we should provide a time frame. So the to is always now, and the from is now minus the time frame. Then also timeouts and retrievable should be configurable for function execution, is more or less close to this one. Then this one, I guess, Anna, we discussed a bit. Yes, from last time we refined it a bit better to provide extra coverage for this watcher.go file. And then we have some pipelining things to have a pipeline that nightly checks that we can upgrade our Helm charts from the latest version to the master version or main version. This way we can test nightly if we can upgrade the KLT via Helm or not, if there is any problems. And then this is a better thing that I think Simon is already working on, to split the pipelines such that when you run documentation things, you don't need to run tests. You just run things to validate your markdown files and vice versa. When you work on code, you just run pipelines for the code. Then this is a follow-up. So let's move it closer to the previous one. Since we changed the Keptn metric to support the time frame, now it's time to update all the different SLI providers to make use of this value. Then from this, from a previous PR, we introduced some linting for YAML files, but now are only warning and do not fail any build. And instead, we should do a research and decide on which rules we should apply and which not, and then enable this. So we can only accept YAML that are formatted according to what we want. Then this one to update Argo CD definitions. So Argo will have a nice UI when it works with KLT. The integration that we discussed before, and update metrics. This is the tracking ticket. Any questions for what's coming in terms of planning? So the goal is a bit of improving the SLI part and the Keptn metrics, a bit of pipelining, improve the coverage, but most importantly, the biggest feature will be automation of application discovery. Okie dokie. And with that, let's add. Oops. I think it's time for you, Mike, to discuss your PR because you provide a prototype. Mike?
Sorry, unmute. Yes,
No worries.
this was an ugly PR to begin with, but there's no way to format it and it just got uglier, so. But let's see if we can look at it. We need, for the CRDs, I think we need a reference page for each one that's fairly detailed and complete. So we can just reference that, then we do use case documents about how to do something, and we can just link to the various CRDs for all the detail. And then in the use case, we just say we did this here for this and that. Moritz has got it, so it's auto-generating some information, but the information it's auto-generating isn't exactly what users need. I think we need discussion for the group, but I want us to have a lot more authored information in there. And we've got issues about formatting and everything, but the first question is whether this is what we all agree. So to look at this ugly thing, so you've got, that's what's currently displaying for them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And the first thing, I think we're gonna need a separate file for each CRD, because when I'm done with it, it's really long. So what I did was I pulled out and I took task definition. Or task definition, but I don't know what I did now. I thought I had, yeah. So it starts out with a very brief but explanation about what the CRD is for. And then now I put in YAML synopsis because I guess that's not actually what the machine is seeing, but that's what the user sees. And I think everybody else, when the existing docs we've got on these people, this is what we show, this is what people have to fill out. So I put that in. And then I lost my header, but at line 95, there should be a header that starts the fields definitions. And there we go through and discuss each one of them. And I've got some text that would need a lot of work on it, but it gives you a general idea. But how you fill it in with values, this sort of stuff. And then at line 181, I've got the field spec, which is what is being auto-generated. And
there is no way to put this outside and link it in, right?
Oh, I think that might actually, I was looking, there's various tools out there. Yeah, so this garbage is up your source code, right?
A
Yes.
bit.
I was under the impression that this is, no, I would love to have it in separate files, actually, that we're, I thought this is what you guys wanted.
Maybe to clarify a little bit, this is just in that file so that we can auto-generate it. So that we don't need formatted things at all. Or pre-formatted rendered YAML files, so it will auto-render it for us. That's why
Yeah.
we have it in the type definitions.
Yeah, we comment things before every field. And these are put in a nice table.
But the table,
And Giovanni, can we look at the PR from Netify to see how
no,
it is rendered?
it doesn't format. I think.
I think on the top there should be a comment, separate comment,
Oh, so
and you can
here,
click, yeah.
We
Oh,
opened the right one already.
but that's
Yeah, and then you go, yeah.
I forgot where is
Like
Task
that.
definition.
Pichu.
That's I put this in a separate file.
Ah, okay.
So
Where is the file?
it should be under lifestyle, but I don't think it's
Under
rendering.
V1 alpha 2, yeah.
Yeah,
Ah, okay, so this will be,
But we need to actually auto-generate it. We need to
yeah,
call the command to auto-generate it.
Ah, okay, so it's a separate file that only has comments
no,
to
no,
have
no.
a separate thingy.
It's a
No.
file that defines the Keptn task types. So it's here to be more precisely. Keptn, where is it? Task. And
Task
it's a
definition.
comment here, yeah.
Yeah, and the
Definition.
task definition that were edited are
What do you mean, Anna?
the file that we had all those comments before. Is this one?
Yeah, this one.
Ah, okay.
Then we need to run the tool locally, and then we would see something like this, most likely.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know I've already been warned that
Mm.
there's
Yeah,
problems with the formatting the comments, but. So I guess the
Because
first question is, you see, yeah, it's gonna muddy up your source file. The alternative is you don't have the information right there to look, so you see it, so.
I don't mind having that in the source file. It's a common practice, honestly. Like if you look at Java, Java docs is exactly inside the source code. And
what
the only problem that I have here, though, is how we render things. We need to change that a bit.
Mhm.
Because right now everything is in a single page. And instead we should create one page per CRD. So one page for Keptn app that contains those 4.
But how do we don't automate that? This is by hand, writing down one at a time, which
Yeah.
goes where.
Yeah.
One thing I have seen done is that instead of the Go file where you have the types, you have another Go file where you only have the comments.
The docs.go, you mean? Something like that?
Yes,
Yeah, I was thinking something like that exactly. We could group this into sub
we could have
packages.
evaluation.go, app.go, and something like that.
Yeah, Keptn app, Keptn
Yeah.
evaluation. I don't know what's the impact.
No clue.
The tool that we are currently using is very limited. This is basically the best I could do with the tool.
Yeah. And that's it. And my thought here was to agree on what we would like, and then we could go out and look at. There definitely are tools. I did see tools that would pull a markdown source into a Go file.
So that actually, when you check the Go file, you don't have it, but then when we run
Right.
it,
And that's, some of that is the question for you guys, as the
How much
advantage.
effort do we
Huh?
need to put into, how much effort do we need really to put into this? Because we might want to have this thing as a markdown document itself in the website.
Mm-hmm.
And here we can create some pages.
Right.
And we manually maintain them. It's not next to the code, but if we
Right.
need to create extra tooling for this, I don't know if it's worth the effort. Or it's your opinion because you know the auto generation tool better.
I mean, one possibility, to me, the auto generation tool is of limited use for the users who are trying to implement this. But that may be my ignorance. I mean, the information that it's putting out. But I do notice that when the existing docs that people have done for these, they are starting with the YAML file. So I mean, one possibility is that we have this section that has the markdown generated files that start with the YAML file and have all the traditional reference for the end user, and then have a subdirectory that is the file for that library with this auto-generated. I mean, it would give them like the types for different fields and stuff, which is of some interest.
Mm,
And could even from each of the markdown files could link to the exact section in the auto-generated for that CRD.
Isn't this super complicated?
Yes.
What I would love as a user is I open a direct link to the YAML file as it exists in the folder, and next to each field there is maybe a short comment of what it is. And that would be awesome
Some
for
of them
me.
I need much more than a short comment, I think.
Mm.
Something worth mentioning,
In config, yeah.
samples.
Yeah, exactly. We have the samples.
Right.
We're just not filled
If
out
we
yet,
fill it
but yeah.
in.
We have some small documentation here and there. So we should maybe provide better
Samples.
samples. Yeah, I'm looking at more
Yeah.
complex. Ooh, nice. to
Ah.
do. And have a
Uh,
special render tool for this, which
I
is
would
more high
find that
level.
more helpful
Well,
because then I have an immediate example I can play with.
the other way, the slight problem, I have an example thing in here, and that's what I thought it would point to the examples that, you know, for each CRD, so they could go and see them in context and see the whole thing. What we don't want to do is we want, in the examples, we want to discuss exactly what the CRD is doing. It's, you know, it's running this and, this is how it's done. I don't want everyone to be explaining all the bloody fields that are in there. There's stuff that's just standard. I want a central place that's comprehensive for that.
But this isn't this already in the behavior of each of the controller. So the CRD is just configuring what we describe in the controller. So is there a need for this redundancy of information? How I see it, the CRD is just a configuration that you use to have a behavior, which is the one we describe in the controller.
Okay, I guess, I mean, I know that's technically true. As where I look from an end user, I don't see it. I want to know how I fill out the JSON file. For example, I mean, this one is a particularly interesting one for the, God, what is the field? The one where you actually give the deno code and everything for what the task is going to do. And that needs some details. It's fairly long. There's 3 options, and each one of them takes a few lines to discuss. Now, where does the user expect to go for that?
I mean, I'm configuring a task, but of course, I'm biased. But I'm configuring a task, so I would go look for what is a Keptn task. There I will look at the description and expect to have links to the examples there.
And no discussion about what this can be one of the 3 or something.
Yeah, sure, but in the Keptn task, not in the CRD documentation. So I wouldn't explicitly look for a CRD.
That's fair, and I would also agree to have it either in the concept, like here,
Yeah,
like we have currently, not in the CRD definition, because this is API reference, so this is very technical.
exactly.
And as it should be, only for advanced users that do know the inner details of Kubernetes.
Exactly. If I want to tweak things, I want to be able to know everything that I can do, then I would go look for that.
Yeah,
the general description of the CRD should be inside the concepts as a
Okay,
end user. Yeah, I agree.
I would want what here we have here is concepts. Of course, I want all the explanatory stuff to go with it, but this is obviously where I started with my information. But I would want these to be a reference section.
Yeah, essentially it becomes a reference section then.
and have it be
Doesn't
listed
matter how you name it.
alphabetically. And I would be delighted if I could just take this stuff here and expand it and put them in alphabetical files in something called a reference section. And just author them within the docs tree. But I was under the impression,
I would actually do it the other way around. I would think of the concept section as your reference, as what you're referring to as the reference section. That is the reference section.
okay,
And then you have your, under quotation marks, prose documentation about the YAMLs in there. And nothing is auto-generated basically then.
okay,
And the API reference can be whatever it is, somewhere else, basically.
okay. I mean,
would also be an option,
concept would
yeah.
be the last place where I would look for this, but we can try it that way and see what happens.
Yeah, I honestly don't care what the header is
Yeah.
saying, but it makes sense because it is broader concepts that we talk about and not specific code things under quotation marks again.
Right,
It is concepts and behavioral things that we talk about in each of the CRDs. Because as Anders said, the CRDs are configuration to change behavior of our controllers, of our operator, basically.
and I know that's true. I'm not sure that's how it appears to end users, but
You need to think about who our end users actually are. I would argue that 95 to 99% of our users are actually developers, and they're used to that kind of documentation.
yeah,
So in that sense, I would say if it's fine for us as developers, as biased as that may be, it's maybe also fine for our users, if that makes sense.
okay. Well, I mean, and again, if we, I mean, we can start it under concept, this stuff can be moved. The thing is to get an agreement, something where we can, start writing, because later we can move stuff around.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that would be a good section to put it into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But maybe our actual users that are in this meeting can maybe give us some more input on that. That would be amazing, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who do we have
Rashid,
here?
Bhavya, Ayush, what's your idea or what?
Would be great, yeah.
If you don't have a mic, you can also write on chat.
Just wanted to ask just if you can quickly brief on what was the question again, because I missed a few minutes right now.
Basically, the question is, what if you're trying to configure KLT, what kind of documentation would you like to see? And kind of in a way, so the bigger question that we have in the room now is basically auto-generated kind of API reference versus nicely formatted, I don't know, pages of YAML with explanations of all the separate fields.
Or something in between.
Or something in between, yeah.
Where you have a high level view about this specific CRT. And if you want to have more input, you can go always into the auto-generated stuff that contains all the different fields.
If I think personally, I think I'll go with the YAML type, because let's say if I am working currently on building KLT killer coder demo, so I find it easy when I refer to the YAML type rather than this, because let's say if I have to run to different files, I will have to manually go through files, and then for the API one, I have to go to manual files and then check for it. But in the YAML type, it will be easy for me to understand as well.
So would it help if in the concept next to the YAML file, we only link to this where you can see all of the field you can change, not only those of the example? Or would you just,
Uh,
so for instance, I want to make a task, I go to task, I check the file here,
mhm.
and then here I have a link that tells me, okay, this is,
I would personally go with this one, yes.
I'm also for this option because yeah, Kubernetes, as far as I know, does it
Yeah.
in the same manner. So we should stick what the big guys basically say.
yeah. So for instance, wherever we mention Keptn task definition, we just refer to the list of stuff that are the CRD as a link.
So let's also ask this question tomorrow in the committee meeting. But bottom line, move this type of details into the concept session,
Get them out of the source code. Okay, I love that. So that makes my
not
life
get
much
out
easier.
of the source code only. So I would also still keep those, yeah, this auto-generated stuff, because very advanced users might want still every
Right.
single detail, but move as much as possible into concept. And the rest is
Yes.
auto-generated.
As we
Yeah,
previously discussed, basically the pros documentation in the concept, and then the API reference, the auto-generated one, is actually like, this is of this type, has those options, and that's it basically.
yeah. What about, we could put one more comment line in the source code that would link back to the concepts file that's relevant, so they could go back and forth from whichever one. What would you think of that?
So
Sure,
like,
let's have a cross link.
yeah, that can work.
Have a cross link in both directions.
And then also from the concepts page towards our
Sure.
samples in the code, if we finally fill them out.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we have
Okay,
an agreement.
okay. And I can go ahead hopefully and have at least a PR in the doc so we can look at it with Netlify. For a couple of these by the community meeting tomorrow. Let me see if I can do. Okay,
Nice.
cool. Oh,
This
one
is-
more for the
please.
auto-generated stuff. Well, there's a bunch of stuff that appears in the YAML file that is actually sub-objects to the CRD. And are we auto-generating any information about those?
What do you mean exactly?
Like for the Keptn tab, I think it's spec where you put the actual code that you want
Yeah,
executed.
yeah.
And that's not currently showing up in what's auto-generated. The auto-generated is just the pure for that particular CRD, right?
It is in there, but in one of the sub-objects. So if you
Okay,
go to Keptn task, you have your task
Right, inline.
parameters. Oh yeah, you have Keptn task definition actually. And then you have your different options, either inline or blah or blah.
okay, let me go look at that some more and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best, honestly, I agree, because it's
I mean, it is a
Ah.
reference. You want to look something up. It makes sense that it's alphabetic, I would say. But
Mhm.
Right,
yeah, you can also, like in this table here with field, you see that we have a header for description and it's just not filled out. You could
Yeah,
have
exactly.
like a single line here that says this is for this and that.
Yeah, here we
Um,
should provide a
Exactly.
comment.
It's missing here, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Actually, that's not the one. So if you scroll further up, line 33 would be where you put
Mhm.
the thing so that it shows up at the table.
yeah, because this one would be instead this one here.
Yes, this would be the description that's below the inline header
Yeah.
line here. like for Keptn app, as you see in the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So you can always provide a description to be shown in this table, and then also a description for the actual thing when you click on it.
Okay. Cool. I mean, it will evolve. It won't be perfect in first day, but this gives me something we can start with, right?
Yep.
Yeah, now that we have actual agreement, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing, was first of all to figure out what we wanted and then. Cool. I thank you very much. I will get to work.
Nice. One thing, since we are talking about documentation, I will bring this up also tomorrow. Let me already put it into the community meeting. Oops. We might want to also ask to participate into the season of docs, which is similar to GSOC, but meant
Yeah.
for documentation only.
Yes, and we do have some interest in that.
I didn't look into requirements for this, but I will try to do that before tomorrow so we can
Okay.
present some more information. So last
And
call for
yes,
tickets to
Bhavya is off
refine.
doing a little side dish. Where is Misha's in here? Yeah, we've got a couple of people who are looking for that, so that would be wonderful. We'll talk.
Perfect. So any last minute issue to discuss? Technical thing to see? Silence means nope. So we'll say thank you all. Have a great rest of your day and see you tomorrow at the community meeting. Have a great one. Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.